It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
On May 13, 1917, folks, 3 children by the name of Lucia dos Santos, Francisco, and Jacinta Marto were tending the sheep on a piece of land known as Cordova de Area. They had finished praying the rosary, ate some lunch, and were beginning to play. Abruptly, there was a brilliant flash of light. Fearing a storm, they excitedly herded the sheep to head for shelter. Again, there was another flash of light, and there before the children appeared the vision of a beautiful lady. The lady majestically floated above the branches of a small oak tree. She was all dressed in white and was brilliant like the sun. Welcome to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. I'm sure you're going to really enjoy this show. It's a story about the Lady of Fatima, and I'm very honored to have the 2 curators of this beautiful statue that you just saw, Carl Malberg and Patrick Sabat, who travel with this statue all over the world. And it's an interesting story itself about the Lady of Fatima. For those of you who are familiar with it, even non-Protestants, it's an interesting story of what happened back in May 13, 1917. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
We're happy.
Thank you for having us
I know
here.
you've been busy and you've been showing the statue all over the world and recently in the Diocese of Scranton. Carl, let me ask you, we opened up on the statue, and what I'd like to do, as I mentioned about this, is this is actually the authentic statue that was helped designed by Lucia dos Santos, right?
Yes,
the sister.
The artist was Joseph Tedim. He was a Portuguese scholar and sculptor and quite renowned. And so the bishop commissioned him and had Lucia work with him on this particular image to get the design as those children remembered having seen the Mother of God.
So what we're actually looking at here probably is what the Blessed Mother really looks like. I mean, as far as the Saint Lucia was able to give the artist her rendition?
When it was finished, she said, not nearly beautiful enough. She said, nothing can describe the beauty that we saw. But she was satisfied that it was the best that could be done.
The story, I just started a little bit about the story, and as she appeared, she said, do not be afraid, I will not hurt you. Lucia says, where do you come from? She says, I come from heaven. And why have you come down here? Lucia said, because I want you children to come here on the 13th each at the same hour in the month of October. I shall tell you who I am and what I want to do. Now, what happened then as the Blessed Mother appeared? There were 6 apparitions, right?
Yes, then as she said, she would come back on June 13th and July, August, September, and finally in October. And in the midst of that, the children were not being believed. We can imagine how could we believe such a thing if little ones came to us telling us this. And so the children had asked her, could she do a miracle to prove those children would be proven to tell the truth. And she promised that on October 13th there would be a great miracle so that all may believe. And that then, the ultimate climax of the events was on that miracle.
Now, at the time when she gave the messages, all right, and this is all documented as well as pictures of the last when the Blessed Mother finally did a miracle, and specifically, what was it that she did that everyone then believed that it was the Blessed Mother?
Yeah,
believe the children.
Sure.
They certainly saw the Blessed Mother.
The children, Lucia said, look at the sun, look up. And the crowd behind, there were 100,000 or so people in that field, huge crowd. And then the sun began to move and spin around and change its colors. It was kind of dim. You could look at it without hurting your eyes. And as it did, the gyrations and dancing around in the sky seemed to come closer and closer. Many of the people were frightened that it might be the end of the world. And of course, the phenomenon went on for about 12 minutes. And then returned to its normal place in the sky.
She told each one of the children exactly where they would be, who would die, where would they be, and so explain what she said to Lucia and to the other 2 children.
Yes, she gave them their vocations on the June 13th apparition, saying that Francisco and Jacinta will come to heaven soon. Lucia would stay on earth a longer time, to teach these things. Lucia did stay on earth until February 13th, 2005. Most of us recall the time that she just died 7 years ago. The two, as she predicted, came to heaven in the Spanish flu epidemic. On April 4th, 1919, Francisco and Jacinta on February 20th, 1920.
The story or the messages that she gave in 1917 were the messages that are now revealed.
Yes, there seems to be nothing held back any longer. There were sections of the messages that were kept secret for 10, 20 years, and one section was given to the Holy Father. And that the Pope finally told us what was in that, and so now there's nothing secret left untold.
The message that she gave back in 1917, what were some of those messages?
It was certainly dealt with the First World War and the fact that that war was caused by sin, and there could even be worse wars, and so it was a plea for conversion, reparation, a change of life, and so the message had to do with ultimately we could have peace among nations if the things I tell you to do are done, according to her quote.
Since that time, okay, there has been many stories about this particular statue. Why do you think the bishop commissioned someone to make the statue?
Well, this idea of a traveling statue came up at the end of the Second World War in 1946. The statue that stays there where they've built a shrine and a beautiful chapel, that statue traveled down to Lisbon and back. There were miracles, and so that idea then came out of that movement of that statue to have a special statue just for travel.
And this is the statue that's the authentic statue.
This one then is the one commissioned for that purpose. And so since 1947, when the paint was dry and it was blessed and it went out, it's been on a continuous journey, a full-time journey, 65 years.
And how did you become involved with this car?
I became familiar with the statue already in the 70s. I knew my predecessor and was a bit involved locally with some Fatima things. When he was sick, they asked me to fill in, and this has developed as almost 20 years.
Have you been to Fatima?
Yes, of course, yes.
And what is it like at Fatima?
Fatima now, of course, that field has a large shrine area, a beautiful place to visit. There's a church called the Basilica there now, and the small chapel and the actual spot where Mary appeared. And we're getting more than 1 million a year visitors there, so that it's a holy place. Recommend that everyone if they have the opportunity.
Well, we had, my wife and I had the great honor and pleasure of being at Lourdes. We went to Lourdes in France, and that itself was a unique experience. Just to know that you're looking where the actual Blessed Mother appeared, and it's just a very humbling experience.
The visit at Fatima, similar to the one at Lourdes. The tradition, we go to Fatima, we go straight to that chapel and say, "What do you want of me?" Because we see that in the words of those 3 children. Each time that she appeared, that was kind of their question to her, that, "What do you want of us?" And so that we present ourselves to Our Lady in that way.
When we have the appearance of our Blessed Mother, and whether you're Catholic, Protestant, it doesn't make any difference. Primarily Catholics, believe in the Blessed Mother. Some believe that there was the Mother of Jesus, but not as we venerate the Blessed Mother. For those, it's like this appearance of the Blessed Mother telling the messages. And yet you had the continuous of people not listening to what she had to say.
Much like the gospel, I would say.
Yeah. So when you, as a curator, and I want to talk to Patrick, we can come back after the break, as a curator of taking this statue around, what have you experienced? Because as I look at the statue, and I remember when you were here in 2005, and it was such an honor to have her there, And I just thought this would be a type of show, just for information. I don't, you know, I don't want to lecture anybody or be holier than thou, as some people think that I portray. I'm not. I just want to bring awareness to what's happening, you know, in the world, not only in the United States, but in the world. And Carl, throughout the time, now how long have you been doing this?
I've been nearly 20 years with the image.
So you've been able to see a lot of things happening in the world today, okay?
Yes, there's been a loss of our Christian values in Western society, not just the United States, all of Western society, to the point we've heard the remark that it's now the post-Christian times. That's not good news, because we need our Christianity so desperately in these times. You know, the advancements in science and medicine have brought out so many problems, and the first of all is the abortions, but the other things as well. And so more than ever, our Christian values are more needed.
What I'm going to do now, if Sammy or Andy, if you could just take a shot of the Blessed Mother, the statue here, folks. This particular statue that you're looking at, that has traveled all over the world, actually cried. Tears, human tears, actually came out of her face in 1972. When we come back, we'll tell you about that, and a lot more have had the people who have experienced many things by visiting the statue and praying the rosary every day. Stay with us. What you're looking at, folks, is a replica of the Blessed Mother. This was a statue that was helped design by one of the 3 children who actually saw the Blessed Mother at Fatima. Her name was Lucia dos Santos, and she died in 2005, I think at the age of 95. On the set, I have the 2 curators, Patrick Sabat, who will be the new curator, and also Carl Malberg, who has been with the statue for 20 years. Before we went to break, Carl, I talked about the fact that you've been with the statue for 20 years. And in 1972, this actual statue that we're looking at actually cried human tears, okay? And what was the reason why the Blessed Mother cried? And I'm sure she's crying every day now of what she's seeing in the world, the complete disregard for morality, the disregard of the sanctity of married life. I'm sure she has pains like we cannot believe. But what was one of the reasons?
Going back to 1972, that was the year in the United States we debated abortion. Several states passed local laws regarding abortion, and all the local ones were overridden 4 or 5 months later by the Supreme Court. And so that we can only surmise, she doesn't talk, but those tears came during July and August of '72, the heat of the abortion debate. And so I suppose she could see the 54 million murders that would be committed between that time and today.
Patrick, young man coming on board here, first of all, welcome to the Sam Lesante Show.
Thank you. Such an honor to be here, present.
Well, that's my honor to have you, both of you here, believe me. Patrick, you have your own show, radio show, right? Or
I've been doing that for 10 years, since 2003, so almost 10 years. I've been doing it for Radio Maria, Philippines. And so it's such a privilege to have this kind of media and to spread the devotion to our Blessed Mother. You know, this is kind of what we're telling, as you said, awareness, information. What we're doing in our life is we're moving away from what God has always been asking us. And so the Blessed Mother keeps on reminding us what Christ has told us. This is the solution to our problems. If you lose respect, if you disregard human life, what could be worse than that?
I'm probably one of the few in the political arena that thinks life is the most important thing, and then the economy is second, because I think we have a tendency, and look, we all want to live and we want to make money. I'm not going to be a hypocrite, but we sell advertisements for our shows to survive. But I think the most important thing is life itself. And when you see Catholics, which really hurt me the most, that think that this is only one issue in the political arena, and there are other issues. I don't know what could be more important than the procreation of life. And you always hear, well, what if your daughter was raped or incest? Well, I think sometimes we forget that it's God's creation, Patrick.
Yeah, I think we seem to have lost the sense of guilt and sin. We cover it up. You know, we have abortion and we legalize it. We have pro-gay marriage and all these kind of things happening in the world. And we seem to have closed our eyes and it's okay, it doesn't concern me. But it really concerns each and every individual. No matter what denomination you belong to, either you're a Christian or a Muslim or wherever, you're in China, you're in Russia, you're in America, you're in the Philippines, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the respect for life, as long as you disregard the natural law, then you will wonder. You will go off and you'll do all those things. But if we come, as the Blessed Mother has been recommending, by means of prayer, there will be peace. And peace will come into the world.
We have a long battle ahead of us.
It is.
And we really do. And when you look at 2001, September 11, 2001, and you saw that disaster happen, and as Ned Doherty, who wrote the book Fast Lane to Heaven, when he saw the visions and predicted, or what he was told about terroristic attacks, the Western Hemisphere getting all kind of tornadoes, and we just saw Sandy coming in, something that is totally unusual that has happened in the geographics, you know, of the world. We have a tendency of going back to, well, this is the way it's either global warming. You'll have the people who do not want to admit that we've had so many people who are disregarding and spitting in God's face every day.
Exactly.
Okay, and how many times can you spit in God's face? And this is and what really breaks my heart, Carl and Patrick, really, and believe me, I'm a sinner like anybody else, is when our own Catholics turn their head on the Blessed Mother and turn away from the abortion issue, knowing that we're pulling little babies apart. And they still will vote for people who, and I go back to political, who say, I'm for this. I don't care, it's not a Democrat or Republican. But, and how do you've seen this for 20 years, Carl, okay?
Yes.
I mean, you know, they go to Mass, they'll go to communion, but yet they'll say, oh, but that's only one issue, and will put someone in that will actually allow more abortions. Partial birth abortion we'll probably be seeing with hopefully not within the next 4 years. And it just tears me apart. I don't know why she's not crying right now as we're talking.
I wonder about that. We've developed so much more knowledge of the preborn baby with technology. When this came about, it'll soon be 40 years now, in that time we didn't have sonograms and all the rest, and people were denying that a baby can feel pain before birth and all sorts of things. It's been so proven and so obvious, and yet the refusal to believe. And as you say, Catholic people and other good Christian people who know abortion's wrong, but there are other issues, economic issues or something else. Nothing can be more important than life, can it?
I've been saying it for years, Carl. I'm one of the few, and I get criticized for it. Even in my own parish, I have people who will not talk to me in church because I am for pro-life, and who am I to tell people about life? Well, I'm sorry, I'm never going to back down on that, and if you feel that you have a right, that's fine, but look what this country and the world is we're paying the price.
This is what we really have to do. You know, you mentioned about Jacinta and those visionary Lucia. The first instinct was to fly, to flee away from the Blessed Mother. And this is what we're doing. We fly away from God, and we don't need to fight like they did, but we really need to stand up to what we believe in. If we believe we're Catholics, then this is what we believe in. If we follow Christ, then we respect the Blessed Mother, like Jesus himself respect the Blessed Mother. We have to be obedient to the fourth commandment. Honor thy father and thy mother. And that was exactly Jesus was doing.
Well, we come back, folks. I'm going to talk about as Carl has traveled 20 years and now Patrick's starting to take over, many miracles happened, I would assume, when this statue was brought to different places in the world. We'll talk about a few of those when we come back. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. You're looking at the statue of the Blessed Mother that was personally guided by St. Lucia, who saw the Blessed Mother. On my set today is Carl Malberg and Patrick Sabat. Folks, for more information on the statue, I'm going to put the website up, pilgrimvirginstatue.com. That's pilgrimvirginstatue.com, where you can get prayer books or whatever and learn a lot more. Interesting, if you go to Google Our Lady of Fatima and the story about it, you'll have exactly what I have, the full story. Carl, and I don't know about you, Patrick, but in the 20 years, have you seen some miracles of people coming in, giving the petitions to the Blessed Mother?
Oh yes, it's a daily stream of people feeling that their prayers were answered in astounding ways, and many ways that you can't measure, things like emotional experience and so on, even the deepening of the conversion to the faith, the increase of faith and the practice of the faith. But physical cures and those things that we can that are more tangible, they occur occasionally too. God showing us that a lot of things we can't see are being done.
It's how about you, Patrick? How long have you been with Carl in this?
Close to about 10 years.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
5 years has been really full-time. 5 years prior to that has been just basically overseas when I was still living in the Philippines.
Now, the statue is traveling all over the world, correct?
All over the world.
And now, do you travel with the statue when it travels all over the world?
Yes.
You do. And where do you get the most, well, I'm sure you get receptions all over the place, but where do you see the most devotion to the Blessed Mother?
As Carl would always say, the poorer the people, the greater the devotion. That's what we always see. Generally speaking, people, they have all the time in the world. They might not have jobs. They might not have food on their table, but they have the time to pray and come to the Blessed Mother, pay respect, and respect life.
One of the things the Blessed Mother told the children was to pray the rosary every day. Is that correct?
Yes, she, of the 6 apparitions, 6 times, every time again, pray the rosary. She said this prayer will bring peace.
And the scapula.
Wearing of the scapular as a sign of our devotion to our submission to God and to a relationship with Mary, that she will be protecting and watching us, there to help us.
Patrick, as a young person, okay, what do you tell all of the young people today, as far as morality is concerned and where we're going? What do you, because they're bombarded every day from the media
the media is out there, and I'm so glad we have this kind of media here in your area. But it's still cool to pray the rosary. This is the solution. This gets us closer to God. It's not something that an ornament or something. It's an armament. I always say this. It's an armament.
Very well put.
Yeah, it's an armament of mass conversion. We convert people, we convert ourselves. This is the prayer that gets us closer to God.
So I'm a Protestant, okay, or I'm Jewish, or I'm, don't go to church, and do I have to be a Catholic to go to heaven? Of course not.
You don't need to be Catholic. There's always heaven waiting for us. And this is the kind of prayer that when we meditate, we share in the life of Jesus and Mary in Nazareth, when we meditate the mysteries of the rosary.
Some people say to me, well, sometimes I don't have to find time. And I always say to them, as I said to Bishop Timlin many years ago, well, you do drive to work, or if you're on a bus or a subway or whatever, you would certainly find the time, instead of listening to radio and listen to, sometimes the talk shows, there's a great opportunity of saying the rosary, going to work, and you could always say the rosary, correct, Carl?
Yes, and so many fall asleep saying the rosary,
Yeah.
and have that kind of a tradition that the angels finish the rosary, and so those are ways that we can take some time each day to meditate on the salvation history.
Carl and Patrick, I want to tell you, it was an honor certainly to bring the Blessed Mother statue here. It's really an honor to have you here. And folks, it's just an opportunity for you to learn about something. I'm not lecturing to anybody, folks. I believe in pro-life. I think this is the ruination of the country. I think we're going to see a lot more in our society because we're turning away from the church, we're turning away from moral values, and we're applauding those people who are defying natural law. We're applauding those people who are killing more babies every day. And just look around, folks. It's going to get worse unless we bring ourselves back to what morality is all about. And that's important. We're all sinners, and I'm not lecturing to anyone, I'm just making this available to you. Check and see what's, don't blame science of what's happening. Blame the sins of mankind of what's happening today. We'll see you next time.